Good evening or good afternoon, good morning, whenever you see this program. And we hope that you watch this program. And you have been giving me some attention on Facebook. And I'm very happy for all my Facebook viewers. They're giving me a lot of good support, and I appreciate that. This is Dave Emmons, and this is the Strange Reality Show. And this is a show that's been, I guess, going for the last couple of years. I've been doing this 5 years, but changed the name here a couple of years ago. But just wanted to refresh and restart whatever. But there's a lot of stuff going on today, and I always mention that in an upfront monologue. And I was just talking to Craig, my guest, and we were talking about the drones. And I do a lot of digging in on the drones, and I got a lot of information on them. I've been getting it from different viewpoints, different. You can't believe all the internet videos that you see, but you can take a look at some of the ones that look reputable, and if they match others, then that's great. Actually, I got a match from a guy who from Colorado who had holes across his arm, and about 9 holes that were kind of like drilled into him. I had the same holes in my left leg about a year and a half ago. I have about 11 holes drilled in my leg. They're little holes, like I guess punch holes, whatever. But he had the same thing, so they must be the same species. Maybe I can talk to Craig about that if the same species use the same, I guess experimental procedures that they always do, or they stick to a certain program. My guest tonight, Craig Campobasso. I've had him on before. Great show, and he's written many books. He's been a director producer of documentaries, and he's got Thyron and autobiography of an ET saga. He discusses knowledge of the Atlanteans, Nordics, evil reptilians, and good reptilians. He goes in depth about the Travis Walton and Calvin Parker stories in his books and other abduction that he's investigated at firsthand. Craig is also boots on the ground type of guy, not just the setback writer, talking head, but he gets out there and he wears his boots out, leather sole boots, whatever. But he's he studied this thing about alien implants and ETs and how they abduct and study humans. He tells us the whole story about Valiant Thor. I don't know if we'll have time to get into all that, but we have a couple of things we want to talk about. And he investigates UFOs, ETs in exciting and thought provoking ways. Craig Campobasso is a multiple award-winning filmmaker and Emmy-nominated casting director. And each time I just told Craig, I said, each time I look at his resume, I think, okay, he's written a few books and stuff, and my memory's not good, getting old. But then I look at his resume and say, oh my God, this guy's he's done everything. He's sharp. I mean, really, uh, you need to listen to this show and tell other people to listen to the show. Craig worked behind the scenes on making Dune by David Lynch and began his casting career on Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories. This past month, he showcased his documentary, The Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, at the Contact in the Desert convention. Craig has been on Coast to Coast. He's been all over TV with Gerald Norrie, Ancient Aliens TV, and Gaia.com. Craig has also been an author, director, producer, and documentarist for most of his life. And what we're going to talk about tonight is the ET Almanac. I think a lot of people like that, but he's going to also talk about his documentary that he's got out. And I will put the links in the narrative of the show when we I post it out there to you. So Craig Campobasso, welcome back, buddy. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, it's so good to see you. How's everything?
I It's good as far as we got all this trouble going on. We got terrorism. We got the lawlessness on the streets, and you're just concerned about the next day. You're not just concerned about food. You're concerned about security. What's going to happen? And
Yes.
this thing in New Orleans, and then the Trump hotel. In a Tesla vehicle that blew up, and he had it packed with explosives. But this is crazy, and I think with the ETs and the drones, and I'm a heavy believer, and I made some comments on the show a while ago, a live show, that I think it's not drones. I actually think there's plasmoids that they've seen pop up, and I know Craig knows about plasmoids, And they have a film. They have several videos people take, and they sound like they're original, Craig, because they seem like they're scared and they're excited at the same time filming this thing. And it's not like
Right.
they're faking it or anything. And these plasmoids actually turned into a helicopter, so they can actually shapeshift. These plasmoids can, and that there's also orbs that they're chasing around. They have films of helicopters, our helicopters chasing orbs around, and jets actually chasing orbs around. And so they ask, well, what's all up there? There's so much up there going on now. There's plasmoids, there's orbs, there's drones. Yes, we have our own drones up there. Sure, we do. Yeah, we got our own drones up there checking on these other orbs and other drones that are up there. But I think the drones, the other fourth of this whole thing is, I think the ETs have actually shapeshifted and made their drones into make looking like our drones. A lot of them. That's why they say, well, they're all ours, and the government don't know what to say about them. They say, well, they're hunting for nuclear fusion material on the ground, and I know all over the world. These drones are all over the world. They're in China, they're in India, they're in Japan, they're in Russia, and Putin made a comment the other day. He said, "Yeah, I think he's trying to be funny, Craig." He said, "Well, I think these ETs are coming here." He said they like human flesh, and he said they
Ah,
like to eat humans. He said, and he said the days of these vampires are going to be over soon. So I don't know what he meant by that. He knows a few things. He's a real big culprit, you know.
well, if he was, he then would be talking about reptilians. So,
Yeah, right,
you
right.
know, because the humans don't eat humans.
No.
Um,
Well, I
uh,
don't know. I've heard that there's bloodthirsty groups and elites. I don't want to say. I get in more trouble. I want to go on a
well,
synopsis.
I'm talking about advanced extraterrestrials.
Yeah,
You
right,
know, yeah.
right. Yeah, I think they actually nurture us. I don't think they're going to attack us. They're here. I think what they're doing
No.
is letting us know they're here, and the government's not disclosing to us. And these ETs know it because they walk amongst us. They work in Washington D.C. A lot of them. And I had a human ET that I met in 2010, and I got pictures of them. And so I know they're real. They're shape shifting into humans, and you probably know that too. I mean, from all your research. Uh, but why don't you talk us through your? We'll go to your extraterrestrial species almanac first. Tell us a little bit about that and how you come up with that, Craig.
Well, my original literary agent loved UFOs. He knew that I had written the autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga, which is this book series,
Right.
right? It's the 4 books in this book series. So, but he also knows that I had been studying contactee cases ever since ever since I was 26.
Right.
So I've been doing it for many decades, and he called me up and he said, "Look, I've just brokered a deal between Red Will Wiser Books and MUFON to create an imprint." And he said, "I would like you to write a book. I have the title of the book, and I think I can sell this book to them." And he says, and it's called the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac. He already had the title. And I said, I could write that book. I said, very easily. So he said, draw up a proposal, which I did. And 4 days later, I was signing a contract and starting to write the book. So, anyway, so I just went back and like all my contactee files, contactees that I knew of, some that I know. I know many different hybrids that are living on the planet that have genetics from other worlds as well.
Right.
And this might sound far fetched to some people, but it really is. A really good friend of mine. Father worked for the military, and they were doing DNA exchanges. So, it's a very big thing, creating hybrids and all different kinds of things throughout the universe, right? And you can do that in a good way and in a malevolent way as well, because you could build really aggressive soldiers and things like that by taking different parts and integrating them and doing all of that. So, a lot of these upper echelon malevolent races are master geneticists at things like that. But anyway, so I just started writing the book, started going to all the contactees and getting all the pertinent information, because they said I had to come in under 300 pages and try and fit as many in as possible. I had heard Paul Hellyer, the
Canadian, right?
former Canadian Minister of Defense, before he passed, he said he knew of 82 races visiting Earth himself. And so I was a big fan of his, and how he spoke out when even in times when it wasn't fashionable, and so I thought, let me see if I can honor him with 82 races, and I was able to fit 82 races in. They just wanted thumbnail reviews in the book. So in the back of the book, under further reading, is really the bibliography, right? So you could go, if you were interested in learning more about the Klermers, right? Klermers, you could go and see. Now, all of these books that were done at the time are out of print, but I tell you where you can go and get them in a PDF online. Right. So if you're really fascinated with this, I have a friend who has a UFO library, which is up in Ashland, Oregon, but he's built on his property at home a giant warehouse. And when people in the UFO community pass, he buys their collections. It is a warehouse of like all of these unbelievable books that were done on these people. So but what you do is you get to learn about like who they are, why are they visiting here, right? Some they're all here for different reasons, and most of them are all benevolent races, and all of their reasons are benevolent,
Right. Now,
right?
that
And
guy with the library, that's not my old buddy David Marler, is it?
no, 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 it's I think it's called RSVL.
Uh,
um I should really tell you guys. Let me see if I can pull it up here, because I think
no,
every
what I
uh,
enjoyed about you're talking about the reptilians being there's a bad race and there's good races. And I wrote this last book, a sci-fi, we were supposed to meet. And it's between a Palladian race and a human race. A Native American guy is my hero. And of course, they're beautiful people, attractive people. And
yeah.
they get into this war with the underground, with the reptilians and the bad ET, with the bad ETs. And I heard there's a human race of ETs that don't like us. Is that true, Craig?
Well, there are renegade human races. Yes, there's even renegade Pleiadians, right, that are in this 3D,
Mhm.
right? A lot of the more advanced Pleiadians are from the fourth and fifth dimension that are visiting here. So they can be here up in the skies, and they just blink their craft into the fourth dimension, but their viewing windows can look right in here. They can be on the ground and you wouldn't even know that they were there, but they
Yeah.
could see and hear everything, sometimes up to a 300-foot radius, or they could expand that if they wanted to.
Yeah. So they do operate camouflaged, they're invisible. And they've been in my house and I know they're invisible. So I,
Right.
I get my little meter out and I read them, tri-field meter. and then that the energy goes up when they're around.
Yeah.
And I can tell this happened back in 2020 when I had several visitations. Now I just have little paranormal things that happen to me, like my car going crazy 3 weeks ago, and then having these loud chirping sounds in my ears are about 2:45 in the morning, like we did the other morning. So I know that they're there, and I tell my wife that, and she's been a believer since since she's been around me. But now with these reptilians, and a lot of people say, "Oh man, if these are ETs with these drones and these plasmoids and orbs, uh, they're going to attack us." And I think, no, they're not going to attack us. Who are they, Craig? They're not going to attack us.
No, I don't get that. I mean, I've seen some pictures of the orbs which were like inverted, like the wheels within
Yeah.
wheels that they talk about in Ezekiel that are light. And that I believe is the cherubim. And those are the actual angels, the cherubim that are creating that vehicle. It's like an angelic Merkaba vehicle, right? So a lot of advanced beings travel in a Merkaba vehicle, and it's, if you want to, I call it the Star of David, but whatever its real name is. It a tetrahedron? Is that the Star of David?
Uh,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
I'm not sure, but it's I show it in
A Star of David is a pentagram, isn't it? I'm not
no,
five
I don't
sided.
know. Anyway, well, let's move on from
Okay,
that.
enough
But
mathematics.
I know, yeah. But a lot of the advanced masters and things like that, they travel in Merkaba, and it's really they're inside of the Star of David. And then when they come and they land, the top pyramid and the bottom of pyramid goes, and then they sort of step out. I tried to show a little bit of that in my short film, Stranger at the Pentagon, the Valiant Thor story, when they're going to a mothership. So it gives people a little bit of idea what it looks like. um, and but I think that that's fascinating that some people have caught those and thought that those were drones and
Mhm.
various things. So everybody has a phone now. Everyone can record.
Right. Now, Craig, you've done a lot of boots on the ground, a lot of investigations, and a lot of talking to people, interviewing. Can uh, kind of help me out here in my thinking of what's going on today in New Jersey, New York, across the country, and around the world? Can these plasmoids can they shapeshift into ships and other things?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've always thought of it as how it's been explained to me is that when they're going between dimensions, they're converting to that light going between dimensions. That's why you see a lot of times you'll see a ship and then you'll see a light go inside of the ground or a mountain.
Mhm.
And then when they get to where they're going to be, then they bleep out into the third dimension and then they're solid, right?
Right.
So, uh, but so many races have so many different types of technologies, and different ships do different things. Some are time traveling ships, some are, plasma ships, some are thought ships where you can go from this part of the universe to the other part of the universe in a thought. It's mirroring the resonation fields of the craft to the resonation field of where you want to go. But there is you have to be a higher consciousness for those types of things, because you actually have to get this sort of hierarchical permission to do that,
Right.
right? And but those are interesting. But those thought ships also, for the very advanced beings, can go into other universes and other super universes.
Mm. So how can humans, I know there's a lot of people who say if you raise your consciousness and you raise your frequencies, I know I had my frequencies raised one time and I stuck my hand through my metal door because I was being abducted and I didn't think I could do it, but it got really hot. because the frequencies make you feel hot. And when you go through,
Yeah.
well, they got to raise your frequencies because cells are not as close as we think they are. They're wide apart. You know, electrons, nucleus, they're all spread out. And when you hit them with a higher frequency, they spread out more where you can just walk through things. That's how the ET.
Right.
Now, we talk about the reptilians, and that's in my book that they're bad. The bad reptilians are underground. And what what are the protective ETs? Are there's I know there's two or three that protect us, and they usually have like space wars out there in their atmosphere. And it can, is,
Right. Well, the primarily the Nordic races are Pleiadians, Vegans, um, Syrians. Also, even though Syrians tend to be more brown in color,
Mhm.
but not always. Just like you have to think about it, is up there's every color of skin, the rainbow, mixtures of the rainbow. There are multicolored skins. There are rainbow colored skins. There are zebra colored skins, right? Dr. Frank once told me, who was friends with Valiant Thor when he was on his starship once, he said, "Oh my God, I saw this race and they had zebra skin."
Mhm.
And he said, "I just thought it was so fascinating." And then I recently, in the last year, heard Linda Moulton Howe talk about a person who was having contact with people who have zebra skin,
Wow, that's
right? So, usually in a planet like this, where there are so many star seeds incarnating to raise consciousness,
mhm.
wherever that star seed is from, if you're from the Pleiades, the Pleiadians will pretty much look after you. The whole, I call it the galactarian alignment of space peoples and planets. They all will be looking after you, but also, your immediate family and things that you left behind will also be looking after you. There are many contactee cases, even with reptilians. There is a very fascinating reptilian one where um, one of the positive reptilians came in and incarnated, and then as a male, and the reptilian mate who was left behind is a male, and started coming to the male, and that they rekindled their romance and physicality.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Interestingly enough. Now, I don't want to get into the semantics of that because I don't know what that is,
Yeah.
but there are these stories that are out there like that, right? And I know people who, I knew a woman, she had part reptilian DNA, but she was not aggressive. She wasn't any of those things, but she had three kinds of ET DNA. This is the one whose father worked for the military.
Yeah.
And, so, but she was very, very benevolent, and she was totally into extraterrestrials and bringing that message to Earth.
Right. I ran into a very pretty young lady, about 25, and I ran into her once, and then I ran into her again 2 weeks later. We signed a contract, played a nightclub. My brothers and I played music, but
Mm-hmm.
this gal didn't even turn her head to me. She turned her eyeball, and she had a green slit in her eye, and
Yeah.
she give off an energy that I picked up on early on, 2 weeks prior, and she was kind of motioning me to dance with her, and I said, I'm an old guy, what? My brothers are younger and better looking. I said, why not? But I guess she picked me out because I'm loaded with implants. I think I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
know I got,
Probably.
yeah, I know I got
Probably.
my hand, yeah. But getting to this point, I think what's going on today, and I think a lot of people are concerned about today, what's going on. These ETs, that are up there, and I know they're up there. I mean, people are going to have to hold me to this. I think there's a few that are our drones, and there's our military planes. We know what those are, but there's other things that we can't explain that's up there, and the government can't. They won't tell us what's up there. They just avoid
Mm-mm.
telling us the real truth. Trump actually come out and said, "Well, Biden knows," and he says, "So does our government. So does the military. They know. They know where they come from. They know where they're going." And but Trump can't say he's not sworn in yet, so he cannot make a statement.
Right, right.
So
But, because he's so vocal, he may be the one to just do it.
he said he might do it. He said he might be the one to
Yeah.
disclose.
Mhm.
I think
I
that
think I think the world's ready, don't you?
yeah, I think we got about 50% of the people. I think they're preparing us. Uh, they're
Yeah,
they're desensitizing us right now with all these flights over us and in populated areas. They're trying to reach as many
right.
people as they can because they're hitting these populated towns. And I think they're trying to show us that we're here, but we're just going to say hi or wave at you from a distance until
Yeah,
until things get a little bit better, until people start accepting ETs out there. Now, when we get into I want to get into your documentary. I know I don't want to rush
yeah,
into it. I'm really curious about your documentary. And you have an ultimate guide to grays, reptilians, and hybrids, and Nordics publishing move on books. But you have this to kick this meticulously crafted documentary, seamless, integrates authentic photographs of extraterrestrial entities and state-of-the-art computer-generated imagery and exemplary artistic renditions portraying beings that defy terrestrial forms or norms. It stands unparalleled in its uniqueness and sophistication, setting a new standard within the current market landscape. Uh, can we talk about that documentary now, Craig?
absolutely. So here it is. There's the DVD, and it can be rented as well. And Dave's going to post that,
I will.
so everyone can, if you want the DVD, you can order it. And on the same page as the DVD are all my other books. So if you want to get them, and I can sign them to everybody as well. But, so really what's exciting about the documentary is it's an extension of the book, right? Because now I can go into the real in-depth stories
Right.
of what each of these races really and truly are, and in some cases directly from the actual contactees, right? There's a contactee deep in a little Italian village, right? He's been in contact, I think, over 30 years with a human race.
I heard that.
And yeah, his story is amazing. His story is amazing. And he has Polaroid pictures that he's taken of them. So there you'll see all of them. He explains who they are, what they do, blah, 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 all of these various things. But I had to send my European team down there. They had to fly down there, get an interpreter, rent a car, drive 5 hours, and they spent a couple days there. I wrote out all the questions. He only speaks Italian. So, so when we conversed, I always had to Google it and,
Oh,
translate everything, and the same here. But his section is mind-blowing. We also have Sixto Paz Wells, who's been in contact with the Alpha Centaurians for many years. He's been on their craft over 100 times. Over 100 times.
wow.
And what's fascinating about that is there are so many contactees from South America. The one that I use for the book for the Alpha Centaurians is Ricardo Gonzalez, amazing guy. A friend of mine went out in Mount Shasta. They took out, I don't know, like 75, 100 people. He said that, the ship was going to come in and show them, because it's in a remote area. So they all sang, they chanted, they danced, they meditated. That's how you pull the vibration in. And then he said the craft came in, it was hovering over the pine trees. He said the whole forest floor lit up with this beautiful sort of white blue light. And actual Ricardo said that Antaral, who is the being who is, I think he's 8 or 9 feet tall, he's a Nordic, Alpha Centaurian, that he had invited, I think it was 7 people in the group to come and meet him. And so my friend was not invited, but those people got to go into the forest. And my friend said, Ricardo sent everyone back to the base. My friend said, I stayed there and I watched. I was like 100 feet away. And he said, as each person came out, it reminded him of what Moses would have looked like when he came out of talking to the burning bush, right? That they were, just mesmerized. So really what these things are is they're called Zendras. And a Zendra is a portal. But what they do is if they're on their ship or their home planet or wherever they are, they open up a Zendra. So if they're on the ship, there's a line, right? There'll be a line. You're on this side on Earth. They're on this side in the Zendra. If they invited you to walk across the threshold, you'd actually be on their ship.
Wow. That makes me feel so bad, Craig, because all these years they've been using me. I mean, and you got these people to get on these ships 100 times. I've just been abducted and messed with and teased, and they never take me on ships, holiday cruise or whatever. Made me jealous with these contactees. My goodness, that would be great to be involved in something like that. Now you talk to now, do a lot of these hybrids go up into these ships sometimes to get
They
re-
do, yes.
yeah.
Yes, some of them are really, really advanced. One, when I first met her, she said, she was going to give me a reading, and she had 3 different decks of just regular cards, right? And she was doing this, and as she was talking, she said, they'll bring you up on the ship as I'm talking, and they'll do whatever needs to be done, if you need healing or what have you. And I said, okay, I didn't think anything of it. And as she's talking, my whole vibration starts to go boom, boom, boom. And I get like so high that my eyes close and I'm somewhere else. I couldn't see where I was, but I was in all of gold, right? And then all of a sudden, all the hearing went away. I couldn't hear her anymore. And then all of a sudden, I opened my eyes. She was gold. Everything was gold, and it was going boom, 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 until then. After a bit, all the sound came crashing back down in my head, and I got the most amazing healing that day as well. So this is what I talk about, and you're an experiencer. These are experiences. A lot of experiencers are brought up on craft to intermingle with everyone, even other star seeds, so that they become familiar with them, right?
Yeah.
This is a common star seed interaction. Other people are taken on board craft for various reasons. If you're a star seed and you're brought up on craft and they're taking genetic materials, then that means that you had agreed to that before you came here, because they too are making hybrids that will come and live here when the world shifts over.
Yeah.
They'll be part Earth and part other human races of the star nations, and they'll be here to teach people once it goes, and how they will finish raising their consciousness when they become fully conscious, right? So they'll sort of like be the teachers, and they won't be afraid of them because they'll be them
Yeah.
as well,
I'll tell you what,
right?
Craig, get me a first class ticket on one of those ships, would you? Let's meet these people that's been messing with for some time. I'm always curious about who it is that's messing with me. Why did they do this? Why did they do that? And almost contactees, they always say, why me? Why did they choose me to mess with? And all this other stuff. But I'd like the first class ticket. But I heard now with this drone business, there's some people talking about, I know you talked about these people glowing, and Moses did the same thing. He was glowing, and they have talked about the drones having some radiation involved with them. Do you find that? Is there any radiation with these people that get on board these ships, Craig?
Well, I don't know about radiation, but they do emanate, like their auras are so strong that some of them do emanate a little bit of light. Some of them emanate light, and then there's other beings that glow,
Mhm.
right? There's a lot of beings whose eyes glow,
Right.
right? And I've seen a few races like that. I've seen some, with the big bug eyes,
Right.
some with red, some with green, some with orange, and they glow. And some of them, like in a case that I went and explored of a man that was being abducted, he was showing me after his abduction, when he drove home, which was 10 minutes away. He was showing me his backyard was forest, that all of a sudden they started walking out of the forest towards his house. And so I was snapping pictures, right? And the next morning when I was in the hotel, I was looking and I was like, oh my God, I got one on camera. And the thing is that its legs started where our knees are. Like little short legs, long torsos, thin neck, longer head. And the being was wearing goggles, and it was holding a light source like this. And I went, oh, that's an interdimensional. He's like, we have night vision binoculars, they have interdimensional goggles,
Um,
right?
yeah.
And I mean, it was fascinating. And the guy who this was happening to, the government was a part of his case. And he said, do you mind if I send it to them? And I said, no, go ahead. And the response was that they hadn't seen these beings since 1958, and they were wondering why they were back.
Right. And
Right. But I did not get any kind of malevolence from them at all.
I haven't either, not really, since I
Yeah.
met a few, but we're talking about these beings that have in contact with us for thousands of years. And they even said the Anunnaki kind of produced our DNA to our modern, Homo sapien, the DNA. Also, I heard over the week that scientists said that we carry the fourth and fifth dimensions and maybe higher DNA in our brains. I don't know how true
Mm-hmm.
it is, but I heard that. I don't know if you have any.
Oh, sure.
Do you know anything?
I can't. I no, I mean, I can't prove it, but I would totally agree to that, because when we meditate, we do go into a higher vibration, and that would be into the fourth and fifth dimensions.
So you must be kind of, I don't like to say the word chosen because that takes you back to Jesus Christ as chosen, but you're kind of a chosen person to see this and to witness this. So they must like you, or you must have some kind of a badge that you wear that you're some kind of a correspondent for them, and you get close to these people. And I guess it's probably the contactees that you relate to. Is that right, Craig?
I really relate to them. I mean, my story goes back to when I was 26,
Hmm.
and you know, I was just a guy in the valley. Never thought about extraterrestrials. What was out there was not even. Never watched Star Trek. Never watched Star Wars. You know, and that kind of thing. Um, and all of a sudden, I started getting visited by three Universal Master teachers. I didn't know that's who they were at the beginning, but I would feel this unbelievable love. And, you know, and this went on for 2 months. I would just keep dreaming about them, and I would wake up. My body would be wrapped in warmth, right? Like so much love. And then I would fall back asleep, and, you know, it took quite some time before I vocalized it to a few friends. You know, of course, they didn't know what it was. And then and then the third and fourth month, I would wake up in the dream and realize my astral body was right there with them. And that's when I started to take notice that this is something different. And, you know, and then the fifth and sixth month is I would see them in a dream. I would travel to them in the dream, and then I'd wake up in my bed and they'd be standing at the foot of my bed in their astral forms in full living color.
Mm.
Right. And then after that, then different things started where they fed my aura with golden light, and that started waking up all the cells in my body. It started waking up my cosmic heritage, is how I say it. And that's when I became, you know, so fascinated with races and star nations and things. And then they ignited my light body so I could travel off of Earth. And I started traveling, astral traveling to other worlds and seeing all these beings. And I would be hearing beings talk. And I mean, at one point, I was talking before all of these different beings, telling my experiences on Earth as well. Right. So the experiences kept going for a 2 year period. And then after a 2 year period, I went to Mount Shasta. I had written a book about my experiences. I went to Mount Shasta to celebrate. I stayed in a friend of a friend's. They had a big apartment over their garage, huge with high ceilings and all of that. And I remember just having some tea, laying in bed, falling asleep. I woke up out of my astral form consciously, astral traveled to the top of the ceiling, saw my body asleep on the bed, right? And then all of a sudden, a 12-inch glowing white snake was crawling across the bed, and it bit me right here. And my body twitched. And then my astral body was separated into masculine and feminine. And then I heard the I am voice say, I am who you are. We are who you are to be what we are in thee. And then my body fused back. And then I went back into my body. And it was such an amazing experience. You know, I decided in the morning I was going to drive up Mount Shasta and go to Panther Meadows, which is a beautiful place, and meditate on the experience. And on the way down, after a few hours, slithering across the asphalt was a 12-inch black snake, and I ran it over before I could stop it. And I realized what the whole experience was about. It was about duality.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So it was the spiritual and the physical and the duality. And this is what all of these teachers taught me. So all of the, you know, so when I came home, the main master teacher said, you know, what if I told you you wrote that book for yourself? And I said, then I learned a lot about myself. And he said, well, now it's time to sit down and write the books you were meant to write when you came. That's why you came here. And he says, so I want you to write and write and write until you can write no more. Don't stop. Don't edit. Now, I didn't know what channeling was. I didn't know what automatic writing was, but I just got out a legal pad and I started doing that. And then this is, you know, this is where these books came from. So this is Tehran. He's a Pleiadian. It's the autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga. I am Tehran. I became friends with Sylvia Brown and I asked her to write the foreword, and she read the book in a night. And she said to me, I have 3 publishers. They all beg me to write forewords for all their authors. I always say no. She said, I only wrote 1 foreword at the beginning of my career. And she said, now I'm going to write the second one, and that's for you.
Oh, that's
because
great.
she believed in it. I mean, do you know how huge that is for like a beginning author to get such a,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I love that woman. She was so kind and, you know,
Yeah. She passed away.
just amazing.
Yeah.
She did. She passed away a few years ago. Yeah.
I'm glad you got into talking about, I think last time we had on the show was busy talking about some of your work, but you're getting into the personal thing that you
Right.
got involved with the ETs and these craft and going out of your body. Those are great stories. Those are, wow, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
right on, space buddy.
Yeah, well, you know, that's how it happens. You know, I mean, I I've seen extraterrestrials in their astral body. The main master teacher has appeared to me in his soul body, which was in the middle of the day
Mhm.
in my little 1-bedroom apartment way back when, right? And it was this wide. I mean, it was as even wider than that. It went from floor to ceiling. And inside this energy vortex were these oval rounds of prismatic gold
Mm.
just going woo, woo, woo. And in my apartment back then, for them to come through, I had a portal in the living room, in my hallway, and at the foot of my bed, so I could always see their energy forms coming in,
Gee
you
whiz.
know, and that kind of thing. It never freaked me out because I always attached to it was such love,
Mhm.
right?
Sounds great. I mean that's those are great stories. I'm glad we got into that. I on your now a lot of people know about documentaries, but
Yeah,
documentaries are not easy. It's a lot of work. And I
it's a
know
lot of
even writing a book is a lot of work, but a documentary is even more than that because you're taking a
yeah.
step and you're good adding realism. Now, in your book, I mean, in a book or the documentary, can you say that these ETs contributed to a lot of this documentary? And also, of course, the contactees did. And your own,
Oh, sure.
yeah, Craig,
Yeah,
tell us about how that
absolutely.
process, tell us how that process works, Craig, on that documentary.
Well, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make you know, Amazon.com is filled with 5 million gazillion UFO videos,
Yes, yes.
right?
Mhm.
And nobody has ever done one on extraterrestrials before. And I wanted to do something that would be different than all of these other videos. So when we filmed everyone, we filmed them on green screen or with a white background, and then we put them in otherworldly environments, right? So you get this feeling of being somewhere else as well. And then, you know, we add in, you know, the real photographs of extraterrestrials from contactees, you know, CGI. We were able to take flat pictures, blow them out into 3D and animate them as well.
Mhm.
You know, all different kinds of things just to make it, keep it interesting. And, our biggest thing was how we were going to sew it together,
Yeah.
right? And just do a section on grays and just a section on this. Is we just sewed it together and let it all flow, right? So, so I picked all the people that I wanted to be in it. Some of our other producers did as well. So, Chip Coffey, who's a big paranormal guy, I've been friends with him for years. So I have, he went and he went to the TNT bunkers and researched the Mothman. So he does the Mothman. Paul Hynek, J.
Yeah.
Allen Hynek's son, does the Men in Black because his father, he knows about the Men in Black, right? Daryl Anka, of course, does the Sasani and Bashar. J.J. Hurtak and Desiree do the angelics, the Elohim, and actually J.J. talks about the Draconians. He talks about the reptilians. Like I said, Sixto Paz does the Alpha Centaurians, such a fascinating section. Barbara Lamb, who is a dear friend of mine, she's done thousands of regressions. And she has 2 books on hybrids. She talks about the hybrids and how they come into
She
being.
was on my show about 3 months ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love her so much.
I was at a convention with her, sitting next to her when Travis Walton did his first presenting. This was back
Oh my God.
2010 or 2009 maybe. And I sat by Barbara Lamb and talked to her. She was such a sweet girl. And that's when Travis was a little nervous and he was shaking the podium and there was some drinks about ready to fall off. And the director of the convention told me, said, Dave, get those bottles before they fall off. So, but he's got his timing down now. Travis, I heard him in 2011 and 2012, and he does really good now. I mean, he had
He
to get
does.
space. When you're a,
He
when you've been involved, it's kind of nerve wracking when you get in front of people because a lot of people are going to roll their eyes and they're not going to believe you. So he had to put up with that also, and he's put up with a lot of crap going on through this whole process. But he's soldiering on, and I like to see that.
He did. He is, and you have to realize he's not an outgoing person. So for him to do that, it took a lot of courage
Yes, it did.
for him to do that and to finally, be able to get down and talk about it. So we've got, Kathleen Martin talking about the Zeta
Yep.
Reticulans, and she goes more into who Junior is, who was the being that looked more human on the craft.
Oh, Junior. Okay.
Junior, right, who Betty had a lot of her conversations with. We actually took Betty's bust and we did a 3D of the head, and then we had an artist create what Junior would look like, because Junior had blue with silver tint and bumpy skin. He had gecko eyes. He was very different than the Zeta Reticulans. Alejandro Rojas, he does the Allagash, which were the ant beings,
Yeah.
which there's so many people coming out and talking about that, military people going down into the ant colonies below ground, and doing exchanges with our government. They're benevolent. Kim Edward Black does, he does the Titan Syrians. And Kathy Porter does the Gray. She has a book series out called The Gray Guardians. Walter Noasad, he does a part in the reptilian section, and he was quite good friends. Oh man, how can I blank on his name? It'll come to me. With somebody who was there during the NASA moonwalk, back in the TRW thing. Bill Tompkins.
Okay.
Bill Tompkins. Yeah. And talks about that. That's fascinating, and that they were working with Nordics and that kind of thing. So, and Chris Bledsoe, who has a very popular book out now, UFO of God, and he talks about the Lady of Light. The Lady of Light comes and visits people throughout history and delivers messages. So,
Well, the lady in white, is she in a robe, a white robe with a
light, lady of light. Yeah, she's in a robe, a white robe.
and she's got I guess something over her face, some kind of a cover. Uh, I've seen her twice in my time.
Yeah, yeah. That well, his he had an artist do a rendition, which is in the book and also in the documentary.
Yeah, it sounds like
So
you got one big crew and producers and people involved in this.
yeah,
Is
it's an
that
hour and a half.
hour
It's
and a
an
half?
hour and a half,
Oh,
and it goes by so fast. And you're going to hear star languages. You're going to hear all different kinds of things that are gonna blow your socks off. And I've shown it to people who were into it, people who were semi into it, and people who were totally not into it,
mhm.
just to see their reaction. And every single person said, I would have to have a DVD of this to watch it over and over and over again, because there's so much information in there.
Right. Now, do
you know
you have a preview on YouTube? Is it, can you find a preview?
There, yeah, on my YouTube channel, I have both of I have a teaser and a trailer up, and I'll start releasing little clips from the movie shortly,
Okay.
but I'll put them on my YouTube.
Yeah. Can you believe our R is there's something else that there's a
Oh, there it is. There's a UFO
yeah,
hotspot
hotspot compendium. Yeah.
compendium.
Yeah. That's where to go to get abducted, right?
That's right. All the places to visit before you die or are abducted.
Sedona is one of them. I know you've been to Sedona, right, Craig?
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it there. I love it there. That's where I had most of my things going on. It was a little weird and crazy. A little,
Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of
yeah,
stuff there
yeah,
too.
dimensional stuff, energy and everything.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us what you're going to do next, and tell us about, of course, this the movie that you got out, uh, and also where they can get the books. Just mention them all. I'll put them on the narrative,
Sure.
but just talk
Okay.
about where they can get a hold of all this stuff, Craig.
Well, you can see Stranger at the Pentagon at strangeratthepentagon.com. I've now made it, because we sold out of DVDs. So I've now made it where people can download the whole film or just rent it. So if you go to strangeratthepentagon.com, just click on watch movie, or you can rent it on amazon.com. All the books and the DVD, you go to autobiography of ANET.com, autobiography of ANET.com. And on the front page is where the autobiography of an extraterrestrial saga books are. And then in the tab, if you click other books, then you'll find
Yeah.
this, and other books that I have, and also Universal Seal of Protection cards I have there, which is Michael, Menatron, and Melchizedek, and so that's where everyone can get everything for now. The documentary won't go wide until sometime in March, so that's the only place you can get it now. You're going to post the link if people want to rent it.
Right.
So it's on Vimeo for rent. So Extraterrestrial Species Almanac, and then we just call it the documentary.
Right.
So
I'm gonna have to check that out. I'll have to go to YouTube and see the trailer and stuff. I know that you're producing some good stuff here, and I've had you on the show before, and it just mind-boggling the stuff that and boots on the ground. Also, I think this is a timely show with all this drone stuff going on around the
yeah,
you're talking about how peaceful and loving a lot of these ETs are, and they're protectorates of us. They protect us and everything. So I think that should add a little comfort to people that these ETs aren't here to destroy us. They're here just to make
No,
this disclose with us. You know,
they are, and look at it from this standpoint. Many of them for many years, and still to this day, are seen over military,
Mhm.
installations, and they turn off their nukes because they're saying, "Look what we can do.
Right.
Don't fire those nukes."
I think that's why
Right?
we're here because we're on the verge of a third world war, is what a lot of people are saying. I don't think we're
Yeah.
there because I don't think Putin even said he's not going to start a third. He's not going to start a nuclear war. He's just huffing and puffing usually like he does. But I think that's
Right.
everybody's got sense now to know that we have a nuclear war. It's all over with for all of us. Craig
Right.
Campopasso, thank you very much for being here and doing this show. You've enlightened me quite a bit about your personal experience.
Oh, thank
I
you.
enjoyed that. That's great. And I know
Oh, thank you.
people are going to like this show because it's going to add a little comfort to them about ETs and
Yes.
being mean ETs or not. And so uh, uh you know, Craig, I appreciate you coming on. And if I will put all the narratives, all your websites and stuff with about on the narrative on the show when I put it out, and that should be in a day or two. I should
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Just let me know. Send
I,
me the link.
I will. I always do. Always keep my
Yeah.
informed. Yeah. So, Craig Campobasso, thank you so much for being on the show, and thanks to everybody for listening to Dave Emmons and the Strange Reality Show. Thank you. I enjoyed this one. I really did. And
Me too. Me
thank you
too.
so much.
You're awesome, Dave.
Thank you.